All right, people, what up? It's your boy Chig from Unit Eagle Eye, coming to you again with something completely motherfucking different. So if you guys have seen the title and you want to bitch, go on, I'll give you a second. Bitch away. Yes, I'm doing something a little bit different, a little bit away from my usual kind of football rants and stuff that you should ordinarily subscribe to, and that stuff will still be continue happening. But I also have side interests. I love movies, and I like Netflix stuff. And on the odd occasion, I might review certain Netflix stuff. Some of you who guys don't know, massive Marvel fan. I can't say I'm one of these people who bought comics in the very early days and did all this. And the only comic I ever bought as a kid was, funny enough, apart from the Arsenal-related stuff, the Beano. And I know only UK people will even know what the fuck the Beano is. And even then, you've got to be a certain age to know what the Beano is. But that aside, I've become a Marvel fan very, very quickly. And one of the things that I gravitated towards when it dropped 2 years ago was Luke Cage. For very obvious reasons, but not just for those reasons. It was refreshing to see a black superhero, and even more dumbfounding was the fact that the cast was predominantly black. It's something very unheard of, very, very unique up until earlier this year with Black Panther. So it was something that immediately caught my interest, and I wanted it to be so good. And I saw season one, and spoiler, just in case nobody's seen season one yet. I don't know why you wouldn't have. I felt that a lot of the problems, on the whole, I enjoyed Luke Cage. I thought it had a compelling villain to a point, or villains to a point. But a lot of the criticism that came from Luke Cage was the fact that they didn't really do the villains enough justice. Just as they, particularly one villain in Diamondback, just as that character was beginning to evolve and get really interesting and found a lot of depth in the character, they killed the character off. And I think the things that I wanted to see improved in this season was, and also I thought the pacing of season one was really, really bad, really bad. And I wanted to see if in this season they'd be able to improve those things, because aside from those issues, it was beautifully shot. I thought everybody did a really solid job in acting-wise. Cast was well picked out. And I really wanted to see if they'd be able to solve those issues, because I thought it was an interesting choice for it to be 2 years since another season dropped. And I just wanted to see if they'd fix that. Plus, going into season two, there's a lot of pressure. There was a lot of success that came from the first season, one of the more popular Marvel shows. But one thing that people have identified about these Marvel TV shows in particular is that the second season tends to suffer a little bit. There was a lot of criticism for Daredevil. I quite liked Daredevil season two, but a lot of people noticed that there was a significant drop in quality in season two. People still liked it, just not as much as season one. I know that there's been a lot of criticism for Jessica Jones season two. I must confess, people, haven't watched Jessica Jones season two. I hold my hands up. I've not done that yet. So for me, I think it was important going into the season that, that essentially the season started strong and really did the villains good justice. And I think going into the season, so what I did was I binged a lot of episodes pretty much last weekend. Truth be told, people, I know it's Thursday as I record this, Thursday the 28th of June. I actually finished watching the thing on Monday, I must admit. I just haven't been able, just work is crazy at the moment, haven't been able to record a proper review of this. And I know a lot of people said to me that they were very interested in me doing this, but they wanted me to try and keep it as spoiler-free as possible. So I'm going to attempt to do that. I'm still going to put a cautious warning on here, but I'm really going to do my best not to not spoil anything about this season if you guys still haven't had an opportunity to see that. Watch this season. It's a 13-episode long season of season 2. What are my thoughts? Spoiler-free. There are some good, there are some bad. I always like to start off with the bad shit. Get that out of the way. So let's start off with the bad. 13 episodes of this season is too long. It's about 5 episodes too long. Everything that they did should have been in about 8 episodes, and it would have been just fine. So from a pacing point of view, they've not fixed that issue. There's so much downtime, and particularly between, I would say, episode 3 to episode 8, for me was a real struggle. It was a real struggle to get through it. There was just lots of beats where you felt like the scene should have ended about 5 minutes before it did, or there'd be like a really exciting bit, then it would go down like this real heavy low, and then it'd pick up pace again, and then it'd go down this real low. Like it was a really confusing arrangement. The way they structured each episode, I thought to me, was really jarring, and I found it, to truth be told, if you want me to be honest, and I'm a big Luke Cage fan, I found myself drifting off a couple of episodes. It was a really slow-paced kind of bit of middle of the season to me. And that, to be honest, is my only real issue with it. I feel like if they do a season 3, and the way it looks, at least from the way they've set up the end, it looks like there will be a season 3. I hope that isn't a spoiler, because I've not told you anything about what's going to happen. But like with any of these TV shows, you can usually tell if they feel confident that they'll get renewed for a new season. And the way they've set it up, they look like they're confident that a new season will happen. I just want to see that improve, man. Even if they knock off 3 episodes, there is no reason for the season to be 13 episodes. I'm sorry. There is no reason whatsoever. Right, so that's the bad stuff. The good stuff is, it's, again, beautifully shot. We have, finally, a villain that is just 2 villains that are just wonderful in this. They are wonderful. Wonderfully played. I won't tell you who they are, but one of them you should already know already. And one brand new villain who is a wonderful introduction to proceedings. I think he's an excellent, excellent actor, and played the role beautifully. Really compelling, has lots of different layers to him. But one thing I think that's a bit of almost a kind of a thing of 2018 so far, particularly with Marvel films, and I think this is probably where Marvel is now starting to get it right with villains. They're making villains almost an empathetic character, like a character that you can kind of think, yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from, or I get why you're pissed off, or I could get your reasoning for that. You know, when you think about Black Panther and the villain in that character, wonderfully played by Michael B. Jordan, I completely got where he was coming from. I'd be vexed too. Like, I'm gonna be real, I'll be vexed too. So I completely got, and that just gives a character a bit of depth, because there's lots of character development. You know, even in Thanos, when it came to Infinity War, you got his reasoning. Like, he wasn't just killing people for the sake of killing people. There was lots of reasoning and depth for why he made the decisions he did. Very intelligent villains, all of them, including in this. I felt that as though all the characters were wonderfully played again. All the villains were wonderfully played again. I thought Mike Coulter, who plays Luke Cage, I thought does a solid job as per usual. You have a couple of cameos, which I won't spoil, so I'm trying to keep the spoiler free. I may do a spoiler version so I can really get into depth of the characters, just so that you guys have an idea of what I actually really think about each of these characters. But I'm really conscious that I don't want to spoil anything. I felt like there were a couple of really nice new additions as well to this character. I thought the woman who plays Misty Knight, who I forget the name of, I really apologize. I thought she was fantastic in her role. There's a lot of character development in her role. I think her character also suffered a little bit from the pacing issues that I mentioned earlier. And I'm hoping that they'll solve that. You'll see what I mean once you watch that. Or if I do a spoiler episode, I'll explain exactly what I mean. But aside from that, guys, for me, I guess the overall question is the season better, worse, or just as good as the first? It still has the pacing issues of the first. However, for me, personally, it's better than the first season. For one predominant reason, the villains are so much better. They're so much well thought out. They are given respect in this season. I think that was what I wanted to see personally. I wanted to see some character development, and we saw that. We saw that with Luke Cage. We saw that with Misty Knight. We see that with the two villains. Those four really drive this thing. So it's really important that you keep an eye on this episode. But that's it from me. So I'm hoping you guys like this. I know it's something different. I know you guys, some of you guys will bitch about it. Some of you guys will like it. But let me know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, crush this like button, destroy it, drop kick the shit out of it. And if you want a spoiler edition, let me know down below and I'll really go into depth about it. All right, people, I'm out of here. Take care.